Hey guys, it's Tevin. Welcome to Door Talk.
Hey, welcome back to Door Talk. On today's episode, I got Jacob with VT Industries here again. And on today's final program that we have an opportunity to have him with us, we're going to talk about veneers, plastic laminates, different species of veneers, and what's available from VT Industries and what you could actually get your hands on using this and utilizing this manufacturer and this vendor. So, Jacob, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Matt. I'm happy to be back again and excited to be touching base on this conversation, which I always enjoy discussing veneer.
No doubt, no doubt. Okay, so let's talk about wood veneer first and what is available, what species you guys have on hand versus what you can get. Let's just go.
Absolutely. So I'm going to start out a little bit talking about the different ones. Hundreds to probably thousands. There's so many veneers out there that can be used and specified, some of which are on hand and easy to get, and some of which are pretty difficult to get, might be illegal to use, and then others that take a lot of time and are pretty expensive to use as well. So the ones we've got on hand always usually is going to be your typical, your white birch, your red oaks, your natural birches, your white maples, your walnuts, white oaks, white birch, and also cherries. And there's different methods of those, so different cuts that we have as well. And if you'd like, I can get into the veneer cutting methods as well too, which I think is always a pretty important topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's different veneer cutting methods. There's about 4 of them that are commonly used in our industry. They're going to be plain sliced, quarter sliced, rift cut, and rotary cut.
Okay.
So plain sliced is going to be a very, very popular option. It's pretty standard in the industry, just plain sliced veneer. And what plain slice does is it always offers a very cathedral type pattern in your veneer. It's going to show a lot of grain, but it's going to be going upwards and downwards in a cathedral type pattern, typically plain sliced veneer.
Right.
So your other option is going to be quarter sliced veneer, which is going to be a more narrow, straight grain, but it's going to have flake, or what some people like to call fleck in it. So flake or fleck, and it's a heavy characteristic that usually kind of looks as if it's a small worm squiggling across the veneer, and it's pretty like a white pattern that just squiggles across the door, and it's always going to be on quarter sliced veneer. It's just something that comes from that cutting method that happens when you cut across the raise, and it hits and gives you that flake look and flake appearance. One thing to know is on quarter sliced, there's no level of flake that is allowed or not allowed.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll see a door out there and it's got a lot of flake, and you're like, holy cow. Some people like it, some people don't like it. If you don't want that flake that you'll see from a quarter slice door,
don't order it.
Yeah, don't order it is always one thing I tell people. I'm like, well, don't order it, don't specify it, because it's what you're going to get. If you don't want that, then go to rift cut. And rift cut is going to be your narrow, straight grain, really tight pattern, no flake. So it's going to just be a super clean, very beautiful straight grain veneer with no flake allowed. The other option is going to be your rotary cut, which is more of an economical option. You see a lot of rotary cut white birch, a lot of rotary cut natural birch, used on, maybe educational jobs, K through 12 is very heavy in natural birch and rotary cut white birch.
Right.
Rotary cut yields a very broad pattern. So it's going to be all over the place. And the reason for that is that they're taking that log, and when they're cutting that log, they're just spinning that log around and getting these big, large sheets of veneer. So it's going to be a super broad pattern, but it's the most economical option because it gets the most veneer out of that log. So it yields the most amount of veneer from a log that you can.
That's interesting.
And talking about those ones, plain sliced, quarter sliced, and rift cut are going to be your three most options. Rotary cut, very popular, like I said, K through 12 types of jobs like that. They're trying to save some money. Rift cut is going to be a little bit higher priced, typically, than than all four of those.
But so, rift cut, is it true that it usually gives you your most consistent?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. And whenever you use a rift cut veneer, I always recommend going with slip and running match. And that's just the layup method. So that's going to be one right after the other. One piece of veneer right after the other. Compared to book running match, which is going to be, very symmetrical that you'll see on plain sliced veneer. It's going to be almost as if you're opening a book. Every piece of veneer from the next one is going to get flipped.
Right.
So with rift cut, always good to stick to slip running match.
Okay. So out of those, you said that the most popular, of course, for education and stuff like that is the rotary natural because it's economical, it's easy to come by. But, from what I've seen, especially if you have just a clear finish door, I mean, you get a lot of color differences in a rotary natural as opposed to something else. I mean, you can have one end of the spectrum to the other. So people just need to be mindful of that economical option. You come with those variances. And yes, it's still a natural look, especially if it's clear finish, but you can get a big variation in color.
Absolutely. That's a great point because with rotary, it's going to be all over the place. And then when you also throw in the natural element, which you can do with natural maple, natural birch, any specification of natural is something you always want to look out for because natural allows for any amount of sap or heartwood that's going to come out of that log. So which can be pretty crazy looking.
So anyway, when you see that specified, when somebody says that word natural, sometimes what you're saying is they may not even know what they're asking for.
Exactly. They might know, they might think, it's a lot of times I can't tell you how many job sites I've been to, ties into this well, where somebody says these doors aren't accepted. And you look and what they're seeing is the natural element, that heavy amount of sapwood or heartwood that's coming up in that door. And it's pretty dark, it's brown usually, and the contrast between that and the white portion of the veneer usually throws people off. But it's natural product, so it's going to be allowed. It's for any natural birch, natural maple, that sapwood or heartwood is allowed to any amount. So whenever anybody always asks me, hey, we want a sample of natural birch or natural maple, it's funny, I've got a couple of pictures of natural birch doors that I've seen in the field, and I will send it to them and say, hey, just a heads up, this is natural veneer. Yeah. And more often than not, they'll send back and say, okay, send us white birch.
Well, and that's what usually what you see when they default to that white birch. That's something simple. So tell me this: if you guys don't have it in stock and it's not a simple red oak or a simple maple or cherry or even birch, what do you guys have available? I know you said that you've done hundreds, maybe even thousands of veneers. What is that process once a door consultant or a architect or a contractor has that specification in their hand? What is the process to get that information to you guys to find out what's available?
Perfect. Yeah. So great question. In that process, if you're requesting a quote, so let's say Warren Hall Metal is requesting a quote, the architect has specified, zebra wood or something crazy like that. Something that's not very common, figured eucalyptus, fumed eucalyptus, anything that's really never going to be on the shelf, but typically looks very pretty and beautiful and is great veneer to use. We will reach out to our veneer vendors, hire the pricing for that veneer, and then we will see if we can use it on our machinery and continue to move forward. And more than often than not, it's something we can use. We will supply it. So we've got all kinds of avenues for acquiring different veneers and for utilizing any sort of special flitch also which is a pretty common thing in some areas where an architect or someone or an owner will actually go out to a veneer manufacturer or veneer vendor and select an exact log.
Wow.
So they'll select an exact log and they'll say, I want you guys to use, this veneer vendor flitch number, which is the reference to that log, is always called the flitch number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wow.
We will then in turn reach out to that veneer vendor and say, hey, we need to use this for 100 doors. And we'll work with them to acquire that veneer from them, lay it up on our doors, and send it out as a finished product.
Wow. That's an involved process.
It's a very involved process. I've been involved on a lot of those, and the stuff that you get is always beautiful, and it's always just incredible to see the different variances in veneer and the thousands of options that are out there. So
wow.
A neat product, really.
Something you really don't even think about. Okay, so we've covered the species of wood veneers and what's available. So tell us what you offer as far as plastic laminate. And I mean, obviously you can duplicate the look of any wood with plastic laminate, but beyond that, what kind of plastic laminate products are you offering?
So we offer various plastic laminate manufacturers. There's of course the Wilson Arts, the Formicas, the Pionites, the Nevamars of the world. Those are all great options. We offer all of those products at VT. So, specifically if we can use it on a door and it's from Wilson Art or Formica, we can acquire it. Also, one thing to note is once you get beyond a couple of those larger guys, the lead times can vary.
Right.
So if you're specifying a specific, special laminate, sometimes we see laminates requested from, that are being made in Italy or, Germany or wherever. Those will always add a good amount to the lead time versus, the USA manufacturers, the Wilson Arts, the Formicas that are normally typically always on hand and available that we can just grab. So.
Right. That's something to be mindful of. So what about differences on impact ratings on the plastic laminate? Is there anything there?
So there is. That's a great question. So there's different impact ratings that are available. So you've got standard plastic laminate, which is going to be, just your Wilson Arts, your Formicas. Fiber reinforced laminate, which is an option that VT does offer, and that is available through Pionite, Nevamar, and Panalam.
Okay.
And what that is, it's kind of a middle ground between your standard plastic laminate, your FRL, which is what it's referred to, which is fiber reinforced laminate, and then your palladium type door, which is your heavy duty, super high impact door that we offer from Eggers, which is using an Inpro, a fiber product that is going to be used, vinyl rigid product that's going to be used for hospitals, healthcare, anything where those doors are going to see a lot of abuse and get beat up over time. Those are your 3 levels that we can offer. So standard PLAM, FRL, which is your fiber reinforced laminate, and then your palladium door, which is available through Inpro, which VT and Eggers have a relationship with to put their products on our Eggers palladium doors.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, Jacob, is there anything else you'd like to cover on veneers or plastic laminates?
Absolutely. So a couple of things I always like to say is always keep an eye if you've got a AA grade veneer. Always keep in mind that might add to lead time because a lot of manufacturers don't stock AA grade veneer. A lot of them will usually just stock A grade, which is going to be your standard veneer product used in the market. AA grade is a little bit higher end, a little bit more, heavy duty architectural grade product that doesn't allow as many knots, streaks, wormholes, anything like that. On the plastic laminate side, you always want to keep an eye on and note the finish type. So for plastic laminates, there's going to be various finish types of matte finish, soft grain, textured grain, and the price differences between these finish types on plastic laminate can vary heavily, almost doubling the cost of a door, depending on the finish type that you're using for that laminate. So always something to keep an eye on. Matte finish is going to be your standard for PLAM. Once it gets beyond that, always requote, always check with your manufacturer whether it's available and what the costs are going to be associated with that. So
good to know. Good to know. Well, Jacob, thank you so much for your time and your availability the last few episodes, and can't wait to do it again. Many more opportunities ahead, and where can they find information if they want to find out more about VT Industries?
Great question. So I appreciate you asking that. So what you can do is you can go to www.vtindustries.com. Okay. Or you can always Google search VT Industries, or you can reach out to me personally, JFREESE@vtindustries.com, or via my cell phone, 712-369-8902. And I'm always happy to point you in any direction that we can. Or if you just want to talk veneer, talk doors, talk P-Lame, anything, I always love doing it. So I'm always available. That's awesome. Well, Jacob, thank you so much for taking this time, and we will talk to you soon. Absolutely. I appreciate it very much again, Matt. Have a good day. Thank you.